Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really powerful tool for getting a handle on the, let's face it, messy human side of any project. It's called Effectual Stakeholder Mapping, and it's all about turning that relationship chaos into a clear strategic advantage. Look, we've all been there, right? You're trying to juggle who needs what, who's talking to whom, and where the real problems and opportunities are actually hiding. It can seriously feel like you're trying to untangle this giant knotted ball of yarn, completely in the dark. But what if you could just flip on the lights? What if there was a structured way to see that whole network, not as a chaotic mess, but as a clear, totally understandable map? Well, that's exactly what we're going to build today. All right, so we're going to start by untangling your project network, but we'll do it one connection at a time. The fundamental building block for all of this is what's called the individual map, and it always begins from a single person's point of view. Okay, first up, we need to identify our effectual stakeholder, or just ES for short. This is the person at the center of the map, the perspective we're looking from. It could be you, it could be your team lead, anyone. What's really key here isn't just who they are, but what means they have. You know, their unique skills, their specific knowledge, the resources they bring to the table. Now, of course, this stakeholder doesn't work in a vacuum. They interact with other people. We'll just call them humans. For any single map, we want to focus on, say, up to 4 of the most critical individuals. And here's the big mental shift. These aren't just names on an org chart, they're potential co-creators. So why do these people even talk to each other? Well, every interaction is kicked off by a problem. Now, don't get hung up on the word problem. It doesn't have to be something bad. A problem could be a major challenge, sure, but it could also be an exciting new opportunity. It's just the why behind the connection. And naturally, if there's a problem, we're gunning for a solution. This is the good stuff, the positive outcome we want. But, and this is a really big but, in this way of thinking, a solution is so much more than just, a technical fix or a checked off task. This quote, this right here, is the heart of the whole approach. A real solution doesn't just solve the issue on paper. It's about making sure that every single person involved in that interaction genuinely feels better off. It's about creating value that improves things on a human level. And finally, we have to look at the not solved scenario. What happens if you don't get to that great solution? This isn't just about listing risks. It helps you define what both people really stand to lose. This gets at that core idea of affordable loss. It makes the stakes of the interaction crystal clear for everyone. Okay, so we've got our 5 key ingredients: the stakeholder, the humans, the problem, the solution, and the not solved scenario. Now let's see how they all snap together to build your very first map. The process itself is actually pretty simple. You start from your perspective. Then, for each key person you talk to, you map out that whole relationship. What's the problem that brings you together? What's the ideal solution that makes you both feel good? And what's really on the line if you fail? And to make it even easier, you can just use a simple set of questions like this for every single relationship you map out. See how these questions force you to dig deeper than just surface-level stuff? You're actually documenting the real human dynamics, and that becomes the raw data for your map. All right, making just one map from your own perspective is incredibly powerful. It gives you a ton of clarity. But the real magic, the big-time payoff, happens when you zoom out and start combining multiple maps to see the entire network. Just remember, your individual map, it's just one piece of the puzzle. It's just your perspective. But when you start collecting maps from other key people, say your lead developer, your project manager, your head of sales, suddenly, you can see the entire project ecosystem come to life. This is where you make that leap from a micro view, just your own direct connections, to a truly macro view of the whole system. You're not just looking at individual trees anymore. You're seeing the entire forest, including all the hidden trails and patterns that connect everything together. And putting it all together is this really cool visual process. You literally put each person's summary on a big canvas. Then you grab some highlighters and color code the common links. Oh, look, these 3 people all mention the same human. These 2 are working on the same problem. Then you start drawing lines between them, and poof, The hidden network just appears right before your eyes. And that brings us to the payoff. All of this mapping, all this connecting, it all leads right to that aha moment where the strategic goal just jumps right off the page at you. Remember that chaotic mess of yarn we started with? This is the moment it completely transforms. It's not a tangle anymore. It's a beautiful, patterned fabric. You can suddenly see how it's all woven together, where the strong threads are, and, just as importantly, where you might have a snag. The insights you can get from this are just incredible. You might suddenly realize, whoa, our lead engineer and our head of marketing are both trying to solve the same customer communication problem, but they're coming at it from totally different angles, and they've never even talked about it. Your map makes that link impossible to miss. You can finally see who the real central hubs are, find synergies you never knew existed, predict conflicts before they blow up, and spot the people who are isolated and need to be brought into the loop.
So that's the power of effectual stakeholder mapping. It's a journey from one person's perspective all the way to systemic wisdom, and it really leaves us with just one final question to think about. What hidden connections, what systemic problems, or what shared opportunities are just sitting there in your project, waiting to be revealed by a map just like this?